Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on a little piece that I call Stomp Blues. It's an expansion of the basic blues progression. If you haven't seen that video, you'll see a link popping up right about here in the above me. Take a chance to go through that. It's just using C, F, and G7, and it's the basics of the 12-bar blues. We're going to be expanding on that. I'll play the piece, and then we're going to break it down in a bunch of 2-bar chunks, because that's how it's kind of written. So here we go. This is the Stomp Blues. This is the Stomp Blues. Alright, so there it is. That's the Stomp Blues. Now let's break it down a little for you. So, basics of this tune are it's a bunch of 2-bar riffs strung over the basic changes that you're already playing. So it starts with this nice little riff here. Now what we're doing is we're taking our G7 shape and we're moving that up to our 5th fret. At our 5th fret, that's a B7. And what we're going to do is we're going to strike a downward stroke on the B7 and slide that chord up to the 6th fret, which makes it a C7. So it will sound like this. So try that. Then once we're at that C7 place, we do another hit. So we get this. So try that for a while. Now when you hit that B, you want to try to avoid that G chord, because that sound, or the G note, the top string, that sounds really bad. You want to kind of hit the rest of the strings. When you hit the C, though, you can hit all of them. Then as soon as you get that down, you want to immediately go back and hit the B again. So it's like... And the last step is that C chord at the bottom. Now when we get down there, it's just that same shuffle that we did in the basic blues progression. Hammering on the 2nd fret of the G, and then the 3rd fret of the G string, and back. So you get this. And you do that twice, so you just 1, 2, 1. And again. And then we go on to the next section, which is over our F changes, our 2 bars of F. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to play a little pickup riff, which is going to be hitting the open G string, 3rd fret on the G string, 5th fret on the G string. And then when we get to this point, we're going to lay our D7 shape, our full bar D7 shape from here, but brought up to the 5th fret. So we're covering a bar straight down the 5th fret, and the 7th on it. Now the way that works, or the 6th, pardon me, fret on it on the A string. Now you can do that with this kind of a bar here. My years of playing, I always do it with my ring finger and my pinky, which works well for this idea because I often pick that note with my pinky, but you can do it no problem that way. Then we come down to our F7, our 4-fingered F7. Now, if you haven't ever seen this one, you start with your basic F chord, then you add your ring finger on the 3rd fret of your C string, and your pinky on the 3rd fret of your A string, so where you would normally make your C chord, and you cover those 4 strings. So that's an F7 chord. So what we've got here is, we've got that climb up to our F7, and then another F7, so you get that little extra change in the way they sound. Both still F7. Then we come back up to our little 2-bar riff. Except this time, instead of going down for this chord, we're going to grab the 2-bar phrase there, the two, your E and your A string at the 3rd fret. And we're going to do that because we're going to play a little riff. So it goes. Now the riff is easy in terms of remembering it, I think, anyway. We're going to be starting on the 6th fret of our E string, 3rd fret of our A string, 6th fret of our E, 3rd fret of our E, 5th fret of our C, 3rd fret of our E, 5th fret of C, 3rd fret of C. So it sounds like this. So now I'm using multiple fingers to pick that, but you could do it with, you could just do it with one finger if that's easier for you. Oops. That's just my thumb. Or my index. So however you find that comfortable. I find using a combination of my thumb and finger works best. So thumb, finger, thumb, 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 finger, thumb. So it's just kind of always a bit of a twiddle. So that sounds again like this when it's all complete. And that's that. Now we get to the last 2 bars, the G7 to F7. It's not the last 2 bars of the progression. Last bars 8 or 9 and 10, I guess, is what it is. Normally what we're going to do is we're going to have our G7 chord, G7 down here, and then we come up to our G7 on the 3rd fret. Now we took that F7 chord. You remember that one from before where we covered all 4? We're going to slide that one up to the 3rd fret so that our index finger starts on the 3rd fret. And that's now a G7 chord. So we're going to start with the G7 down here. G7, G7, F7, F7. So that creates that little 2-bar thing where we're changing the G7 sound. So you get this G7, G7, F7, F7. Each one gets 2 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that makes it a little more interesting sounding. And then we get to the turnaround. Now the turnaround is quite easy. It's a little tricky if you haven't played one before, but they're not that hard. Basically, we're just going to take our pointer, our index finger, and our middle finger. We're going to put the pointer finger on the 6th fret of our E string and our ring finger on the 7th fret of our C string. And all we're doing now is with our thumb and our index finger on our right hand, we're doing a thumb on the C string and the index finger on the E string. We're doing thumb, finger, thumb. Drop this down 1 fret, thumb, finger, thumb. Drop it down 1 more fret, thumb, finger, thumb. 1 more fret, thumb, finger, thumb. So it sounds like this. And then when we get to that last one, we do a little lick like this where we drop our finger as a bar across the first 3 strings on that 3rd fret, and we hammer on. So we pick on the C string, hammer our middle finger down on the 4th fret, so 3rd to 4th, and pick the 3rd fret of the E string underneath it, and finally picking the C on the 3rd fret of the A string. So that sounds like this. So we'll try that progression again. I'll play a little slow so you can follow along, all right? Now the basis of this exercise is that each one of those 2-bar segments can be thrown in at any time during another blues progression, because they don't cross bars in the changes, meaning the riff doesn't travel from one set of changes to another. You can drop them in as modules. That was kind of how I designed it. So at the beginning you've got this lovely C piece. So you can always throw that in at any point while you're playing a C progression of a blues. So you know, like, hey, baby, don't you want to go? I said, hey. And same goes with the F, you know, just because it's all F, you can drop it in at a moment's notice. G7, G7, F7, F7. So much simpler than it appears in terms of the playing, but also gives you a little bit more audible interest. So I hope that clears it up for you. The tab is available in the description down below, so download it and you can play along with this at your heart's content and work on it. Hi, thanks for being a part of this workshop. This channel has always been about education, and I've had a lot of fun over the last year putting up these cover songs and sharing the chords. I think for the next little while we're going to be focusing on more tutorial-based instruction, getting into the roots of the blues and some technical stuff on how to play ukulele better. As always, I'm going to keep focusing on baritone uke and on tenor uke, so that you have, well, you basically have your choice of how you want to learn. Sometimes it'll be with a tenor with a low G, sometimes it'll be like today where the tenor had a re-entrant tuning with the high G. In any case, I will always provide transcriptions and notes for you, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And for all my Patreon supporters, I want to thank you for your ongoing support. If you don't already know about Patreon, folks, you should follow the link down below here or up in the right and check it out. It's a subscription-based service where you basically pay me a small amount of money to help keep this channel free for everyone else. And for that little bit of money, you get access to behind-the-scenes content, more instructional videos, behind-the-scenes tour videos as I travel and play workshops and host workshops in different parts of the world. And that's going to continue. So take a look at it. You're fully in control of the money. It's up to you how much you contribute, how often you contribute, and you can choose at any moment to stop or increase or decrease your involvement too. So it's worth checking out. Yeah. Anyway, our next video comes out on just after Christmas, so I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and find yourselves wrapped up in the bosom of your family. And I myself, I'm going to be with my mom and my relatives this year. I'm very grateful for that. So take care, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.